Okay, our last halter is more of a training halter. This is one of my favorite pieces of equipment to use on every single horse that I work with. You're going to see this in groundwork, you're going to see this in trailering, you're going to see this in grooming, you're going to see this in training, and this is what is going to establish a groundwork relationship, and you'll see the difference in a minute. So when you look, it is the same shape. The difference in a rope halter is that I have knots instead of buckles and snaps. And so I still know the way to hold the halter, because if I look at it, the short side or the left side holds the eyelet, and I still have the length of the strap in my right arm. I'm still going to put this on the same way. With this specific horse, I can put my arm around her neck. Some people that may not be as tall are going to be able to open the halter and keep one on one side, one on the other, shimmy it up her nose just like this, and they're going to probably flip it over her neck, depending on if you're a child or what size you are, okay? Standard way to put on your halter is putting your arm, your right arm that's closest to them, over their neck. I'm still holding my strap and my eyelet. And so when I bring it on her nose, pull it up her frame, same system, I'm pulling the strap over to the left side of the horse. Now, the difference that you're going to notice about a rope halter is I have to tie it. There are no fasteners or buckles. And so you're going to see an eyelet to be able to put my strap through. When I put this through, I'm going to pull it through the eyelet towards me. I'm going to make it go the length of her neck, and this is just to help create space and structure for you to be able to make your knot. Right where I'm holding my left hand, I'm going to make this knot as close as I can to the existing knot already on the halter. So when I put the rope halter, I'm going to go behind the halter itself against the side of the horse, and when I pull it through and make my knot, my tail goes through the hole I've created, and notice where I put the knot. I put the knot below the eyelet, but above the bottom knot that goes right between. That's where my knot goes. A lot of people will put the knot above the eyelet, and what happens is a horse, if they get nervous about a halter or they get trapped in a halter, this pulls so tight that it's really difficult to come to break or to let go or to undo. And so when you're making your knot, and I'll do this again, notice how it's the same, couple fingers loose, not too tight. Once I pull the tail through my eyelet, all I'm doing is creating a length and a visual to be able to put the line of the rope, good girl, behind the halter, and where I'm aiming to create my knot is right between the eyelet and the halter knot. Okay, sometimes if the tail is too long, you can tuck it in either side so it's just not flapping on her head. Good girl. Okay, so these are the three different types of halters, and you can kind of see them now spread out. I've got my standard halter, that's my blue one that I first started with. I've got my grooming halter that had my buckle that I would undo on the throat latch. And now I have my rope halter. And the difference in a rope halter, a working halter, is the length of your lead rope. You notice that these three halters have places to snap and unsnap your lead ropes. Okay, for convenience or grooming or those kinds of things, or trailering. My rope halter, it actually can come undone, but its intention is not to come undone, okay? So I have a lead rope that's permanently fixed on this because it is a training halter for this purpose. And then as a preference, I like to have all three. Depends on what kind of situation I'm in. If I'm doing turnout, if I'm doing a horse show, or if I'm doing training. A lot of times you use a rope halter for training, but you don't tie with a rope halter just based on the system. It does not easily break or let go. What you notice on this grooming halter is it has leather straps attached to nylon, which means if I have a horse that's in trouble or worried about being tied to something, the leather typically breaks, okay? This is probably the safest halter of the three because it has leather, and leather can break faster than, say, nylon or cord. So with nylon and cord, this doesn't easily tear or break, but leather does. So safety-wise, this is definitely a safer halter if you're worried about your horse being tied up or pulling away or breaking their halter. This grooming halter with the leather is a safer choice. Your training halter, I typically don't ever tie with my training halter unless I have a safe place to tie, which is typically to twine or those kinds of things. Good girl, Pixie. That's a girl. We're going to leave her rope halter on. So I'm going to take off the other three. The best way to practice this, when you're first learning to put on a halter, the best place to practice it is actually on a fence. And so if we were to practice putting a halter or buckling a halter on and off before we even wanted to put it on a horse, I would go to a gate or a panel and I would just work on fastening it and buckling it before I even added the horse into the piece. But if I want to start working on a horse, certainly pick a horse that knows how to do it. If they don't, then that's another video that we would go through, would be able to be how do we halter a horse that actually has never had something put on their head. For the most part, this pony, other than the flies bothering her face, she's very good, and we've trained her and schooled her to be able to touch places on her head. But I know I work with horses that are not as comfortable with you putting things on their face, and so you have to work your way up based on your halter and being able to do that. So, good girl. She's a very good model. That's a good girl.